Today we're going to talk about navigation. So if I tell you north, 50 degrees east, that means we're going to start on the north side and head east. So I'm going to start here and I'm going to go 50 degrees east. I'm going in that direction. If I say north, 70 degrees west, I would go, starting on the northern direction, I would go westward. So I would go this way, 70 degrees. That is the direction I would be going. Now, I not only can do north, starting with north, I can also start on the south side. So if I say south, 45 degrees east, that means I'm going to start on the southern line and I'm going to go 45 degrees this direction. So it'd be here, 45 degrees going eastward, southeast. Okay, so these are different navigations examples. Now I'm going to talk about the word bearing. Bearing is your direction starting north and going clockwise. Bearing is north and it goes clockwise. This is the direction starting on the north and going this way, clockwise. So whenever you see this word bearing, your default should be starting on the north and going this direction. Okay? So if I say bearing 63 degrees, I'm just going to assume I'm starting north and going this direction towards the east, clockwise. So this would be looking like that, 60 degrees. So let's look at a word problem. A boat leaves the port and averages 35 knots, traveling for 2 hours, bearing north 53 degrees east. North 53 degrees east. There we go. Said that weird. Okay, so I'm going to draw a picture. This is my port, and my boat travels north. And when I say the word knots, this means nautical miles per hour. A nautical mile is about 1.15 regular miles. It's longer than a regular mile. Okay, so let me draw a picture real quick. We're going north, 53 degrees east. So I'm heading in this direction. And this is 53 degrees east. This is north. Okay, and of course this way is east. So I'm heading in that direction. So if I want to figure out what this distance is, does anyone remember the formula for distance? What is it? Uh-huh. There we go. Speed times time. So they told me the speed. I'm going 35 knots. That's nautical miles per hour. So I know my distance is going to be 35. I'm going to put NM for nautical miles per hour times time, which is 2 hours. So my hours cancel. 35 times 2 is 70. So I know that my distance is 70 nautical miles. I'll put 70 NM. That is the distance that my boat is traveling in the northeast direction, 53 degrees. Okay, then on a new bearing of, and they specified this time that I'm going to go from the south and then go east. So guys, let's say my boat is up here. This is my sailboat. I'm going to draw another compass. So this is my compass. Now I'm going to go south. So I'm going to start on the southern line and go 37 degrees to the east. So 37 degrees starting from the southern line because it says south. 37 degrees in the eastern direction would now be here. So this is the way that it's traveling. And this is 37 degrees right there. Okay, let's figure out the distance. We're assuming that they're still going 35 knots. But this time we're traveling for 3 hours. So I'm going to do 35 nautical miles per hour times 3 hours. The hours cancel out. 35 times 3 is 105. So I'm going a distance of 105 nautical miles. That's my picture. Now that I drew my picture, we can now answer the question. So the first question, it says, what is the distance from the port? What is the distance from the port? So guys, I started here at the port and I went this direction and then I changed direction. I changed my bearing and now I'm going this way. So we want to know, what is this distance? Now, let's figure out how we're going to do this. If you remember from geometry, this is parallel and this is parallel. So they form alternate interior angles. If this is 53 degrees, that means this angle is 53 degrees. Parallel lines form alternate interior angles. So that means this is 53 degrees. Guys, what is 53 plus 37? 90. So we formed a right triangle. So since I formed a right triangle, let me erase some of this stuff. I formed a right triangle. That means I can use Pythagorean theorem. This is a right triangle. So I know that to find this hypotenuse of this right triangle, I'll do 70 squared plus 105 squared will give me this distance squared. So you guys can type that into your calculator. Let me know what you get. You're going to square root both sides. So the distance is, okay, I'll take that. Thank you so much. 126.194 thousandths nautical miles. So that's my distance. I'll write it in my picture. 126.194 nautical miles. I use Pythagorean theorem to find the distance because this is the hypotenuse of the triangle that was formed. Now let's answer the next question. The next question, it says, what is the bearing? Remember, the definition of bearing is you're starting on the north and you want to know what that angle is. You start north and you want to know what the angle is. Okay? So, looking at my original picture, this is my northern, this is where I start. I want to know what the final bearing is. My boat ended up down here. This is my boat. So I want to know the angle from where I started on this line all the way to here. What is this entire angle? That's what we want to know. So that means I do not know this angle right here. We don't know this angle. However, I do know the opposite side of this angle, and I know the adjacent side of that angle. I also know the hypotenuse because we just found it, but I'm going to use these pretty numbers that don't have decimals. So if I want to figure out this angle, this is opposite. I'm going to write opposite. And this side is adjacent. I'm going to put ADJ for adjacent. So if I do tangent of that angle is opposite over adjacent, I can replace it with the numbers they gave me. I know the opposite side is 105 and the adjacent side is 70. So if you want to find this angle, you're going to have to do tangent inverse, right? Let me do the math for you. Hold on. I'll do the inverse of both sides. So tangent inverse, those cancel. So that means theta is equal to the tangent inverse of 105 divided by 70. you need to type this into your calculator to find this missing angle.
Wait, how do you know that you...
I know that I'm using tangent because I have, for this angle, they gave me the opposite and adjacent. Remember SOHCAHTOA? That's why I use tangent. Because if I have to do the inverse, because if I just want this angle, I take the inverse of both sides so that those cancel. I'm solving for theta. Now, guys, y'all are asking, why did I use tangent? You don't have to use tangent. You could also do sine. You could do opposite over the hypotenuse. You could do adjacent over the hypotenuse. I just chose tangent because I didn't want decimals. Okay, good. Yes, what'd you get? 56.3. Perfect. All right, guys. So they said 56.3 degrees. So I'm just going to write that in here. Okay. So they said this was 56.3 degrees. Okay, guys, but I want to know the bearing. I want to know this whole angle that it went. So we said in the beginning that this was 53 degrees right here. Yep, so you just add them. 109.3 degrees is the bearing. There you go. Next problem. A boat is 14 miles west and 16 miles south of Japan. So I'm going to say this is Japan. And they went 14 miles west. And then they went 16 miles south. So this is where the boat is now. Okay, so it says what bearing, guys, do you remember the definition of bearing? What do I do when I'm thinking bearing? North, right? North and clockwise. You should be thinking north and clockwise. Clockwise is northeast. You're going to go the eastern direction. Okay, so what bearing should the boat, so I'm looking from the perspective of the boat, what bearing should the boat take to travel directly to the island? So I need to know this angle right here. Remember, bearing is north. So I need to figure out what this angle is so that they can get back to the island of Japan. I'm going to pause here and let you guys try to solve it. Nice. So I saw someone do the opposite and the adjacent of that angle. So tangent of this angle is the opposite side, which is 14 over 16, the adjacent side. So if you solve, you're going to take the inverse of both sides. That cancels out, leaving you with theta. And then you take the inverse of the other side. So this is what you will type into your calculator. And of course, this is miles and miles, but those cancel out. So just 14 over 16. If you type this into your calculator, make sure your calculator is in degrees. You should get 41.186. 186 degrees. So that is the bearing. Remember, you start on the north side and you figure out what that angle is. That is your bearing. Next problem. Think about it. Osby spots a lion directly north from his location. Try to draw it as I speak it to you, as I read it to you. Ashley is 500 feet east of Osby and spots the lion at a bearing of north 32 degrees west. How far is Osby from the lion? Y'all did a lot of great thinking. So let's draw a diagram. Here's Osby. I'm going to put an O. And the lion is directly north of him. So this is where the lion is. Since it's directly north, I know it's going to form a 90-degree angle. And this is the eastern direction where Ashley is. And Osby and Ashley are 500 feet apart. Okay. So it says Ashley is 500 feet east of Osby and spots the lion at a bearing of north 32 west. So Ashley spots the lion at north, oh, north 32 degrees going the westward direction. So that's this way. So I know that this angle is 32. Well, these are right triangles. So what is this other side? So inside here is 58. Okay. The key word is that this is directly above Osby and Ashley is east of Osby. So these are forming right triangles. These lines are parallel. Okay. All right. So let's figure out the distance between Osby and the lion. So I want to figure out this side. Well, opposite of this angle here, this is the opposite side and this is the adjacent side. I'll write that down. This is the opposite side and this is the adjacent side. So it sounds like I'm going to do tangent. Tangent of this angle, 58, is opposite, which I don't know, over the adjacent, which is 500. So let's go ahead and solve it. I'm going to multiply both sides by 500. Now you type this into your calculator. Let me know what you get. 800.167 feet. So the distance between Osby and the lion is about 800 feet.